and then probably to the Alps. Yeah, we go to Addison. Like classic last minute training. And then I'll take my van to Mallorca and then fly to Brazil. Then I'll have like 3-4 days in Brazil before it starts.
And how many days is it?
10 days. But we should finish in 6 if we can, yeah. 5 and 10. Good evening and welcome to a hot and windy Port de la Selva. It is the end of the 2026 X-Pyr. We've had an amazing race. We have loads to talk about. We have loads of smiles. We're here in the water, cooling off. It's been hot, it's been windy, it's been epic flying conditions. And we've just come this evening to have a bit of a wrap up, a bit of a chat, and finish off what has been probably one of the most epic X-Pyrs, and definitely one to remember.
Oh, and then some.
And some.
And then some.
So Judith, where do we start?
Well, I think that for us, always the most important thing is to finish the week with like no serious incidents and accidents. And although Jean de Meillet had a prang and needed a couple of stitches, you know, we saw him, he's okay. So, you know, we all, the minute it finishes, if we've had nothing serious, the relief is immense. So we were jumping around the office.
And especially, you know, we saw really windy conditions on the first 2 days of the race, and the last 2.5 days have also been very windy. And, you know, there has been a lot of turbulence, has been tricky flying conditions. So as you say, really fantastic to get to here. We've got no major injuries.
Yep.
We do wish Jean a speedy recovery.
Yep.
He is fine, which is great news. And we look forward to seeing him back on the racetrack, as I'm sure he will be
yes,
very shortly.
I think he was, you know, this was just a small setback.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we finished 6 o'clock on Saturday. We decided to call it a day rather than 9 o'clock so that the organisation can wrap up and we can get ready for the prize giving tomorrow, which will be at 10 o'clock, not at 12. So we changed that. But let's have a wee kind of look back at the week. And we haven't scripted this. We're just going to have a chat about our impressions and what we noticed and maybe some funny stories that we heard. So who were the pilots that kind of stuck out for you?
There's been a few. You know, obviously we started with less than favourable weather forecasts. We didn't think anyone would fly. And as always in these races, we were proven wrong.
Yes.
I think everyone flew from the start, which was great. So great the forecast was wrong at that point. And then it really played out. We had some huge names at the back.
Yep. And
we had the usual suspect right out the front. But some really great stories. I mean, someone who I know you know very well, who stood out for me is Simon Oberauner. He was coming in as a defending champion. Big pressure on him, and he really didn't have his groove. His first 2 days, he just said he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I loved something that really stood out for me was his mindset at the finish. He was really happy. He spoke about the challenges, how much he learned, but how they turned to having fun. And really, when things went wrong, they found their happiness, their love in the adventure, their love in the mountains, and managed to turn around those difficulties into a successful race and had a massive comeback. So really nice to see, and really, I think, quite a role model. So great to have him here, as always, and great to see that play out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a pleasure to see Simon and Moritz. You know, they make such a great team. And yeah, like you said, he said that he learned a lot, and I think that's when you're at that level, you know, that you're still looking for those lessons. So, yeah, I think it's really fantastic.
Yeah.
You know.
And talking of level, we've really seen, I think this has been one of the first, you know, the X-Alps, we really saw the level increase, but I think this has been the first show of really how high the level of hike and fly has come. We had 30 pilots who really were all in a shot. They were not far behind, and we had to have that volume of pilots cross the Pyrenees in 4.5 days and then all be fighting for top 10 really quite closely. I think really shows a lot of excitement for the sport going into the future. Yeah, athletes are serious, athletes are professional, and they're here to race, and it's fantastic to see.
But I mean, what impressed me was not just like, I mean, they were epic flying conditions, you know, zooming across the Pyrenees at 4,000 meters and having to fight all the time to stay under the airspace and under the height limit that we set. You know, people said it was a real struggle often, and it was a real shame because it would have just been fantastic to really blast into orbit, even more so than they were. But I was really impressed with how fast people are on the ground in this heat. I mean, to do it in 40 degrees. I mean, Celia was walking and her feet literally were stuck to the tarmac because it had melted, and she was like, you know, trying to get her feet out. So, but the amount of distance they covered.
Incredible in such tough conditions. I mean, we saw Pauline this morning. I mean, she surprised us all. She was about an hour and a half in before we thought she would be here. We checked the live tracking, and she had just run across the flats and she was here. So yeah, amazing to see how strong these athletes are, how they cope with conditions when most of us would go, we're not even going for a walk today.
No, I mean, when we opened the office door, I was like, oh my God, it's like a hairdryer. You know, and just walking to the next bar, you know, for a coffee was hard work.
Yeah.
So no, how they did it's been, but I mean, the difference this year, you know, we've always had a bit of rain. We had some thunderstorms, but this heat is just unprecedented.
Yeah, and relentless. It's been every single day. You know, sometimes we have a few days and then at least you get a bit of rain to cool you off. And it just has been every day is the same. I think, you know, the athletes look at the nighttime forecast for the next day and it's just like, oh, not again.
Well, and the nighttime temperatures were ridiculously hot as well. I mean, it didn't cool down that much. It was still tropical in the middle of the night. So. And
talking about running, I think we have a wonderful man who has been in this race, the running man, Thomas Coquenay. Probably one of the biggest legends of the sport. And he chose this race as his last. Well, we never know with these pilots, but he has said that this is the end of his hike and fly career. And really fantastic to have him here, to see him out battling. He pushed right up to the end, and really, quite a moment in our sport, I think, for such an icon, someone who's been doing this from the beginning, pretty much. Lovely guy, and I know he's inspired many pilots and hike and fly athletes around the world, so really fantastic to have him here. And if there's one athlete I think we should call out and say our thanks to, it's Thomas Coquenay for all he's done for our sport, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have him here in this race.
Watch this space, because we may have a little surprise for Thomas tomorrow at the prize giving. So, but you know, talking of inspiration, two pilots that, you know, for me, I talk about inspiration. I thought two stories that were really lovely. One we've repeated a few times, which is about Romain Laripa, who was the boy from the next village from Laroun, who has been on the start, you know, as a spectator 3 times and always wishing like one day I'm going to be there with the stars. And then he was there, and when he made it across the Pyrenees, I was at the finish when he got there, and he was just in floods of tears. You know, he was just so happy that he did it. You know, that not just that he got on the start line, but that he actually did the whole race, and it was just lovely, you know, to see that. And the other one is Manel Gras, who's obviously the local pilot from Catalonia and comes from the same little province that I live in, and so he's only been flying, I think, about 4 or 5 years. And he learned with the local flying school. And so a few years ago, I gave the flying school a t-shirt from the X-Pyr from the 2022 edition. It was an athlete shirt because they were quite heavy, it was huge, and I couldn't use it. And I thought, well, you know, they can give that as a prize for the best student of that year. And Manel Gras won it. And he said at the time, one day I will be wearing the X-Pyr shirt myself as an athlete. And so when he was actually on the start line, I mean, I remember his flying teacher, being so emotional that he even got into the X-Pyr. And I mean, when he got to the finish, it was just crazy, you know, so lovely. So yeah, so it's little things like that can inspire young people to want to do this.
Yeah,
it's really the little
cool
thing that can just,
yeah.
know.
And talking of the finish line, yesterday evening we saw fantastic scenes. You were there, I was recording my evening show, and take us through what happened there, because a legend in the area, a legend in the sport, he's a wonderful human being, and what went down there was fantastic. So tell us the story.
It was, so, you know, when you've got 36 pilots coming into goal, you know, some of them, if they come really early in the morning.
Very quickly, I'm just going to pause you there, because if you look to your right, this is how hot it is. A man who never goes swimming.
Yeah, Inigo doesn't want to be on camera.
Is going for a swim. Sorry, carry on.
So last night, Guillermo Monroset came in, and he's from San Juan, well, he lives very close to San Juan de las Abadeses, so that was town point 6. And his team said if they can make it there, they'll be super happy because they'll have got home. But he made it all the way, and he actually was injured. He had a foot injury, and he battled through it. And then yesterday he came, and it was sort of Bruno Cabby, he and Thielen were close to each other. And Bruno Cabby just went, and then it was Guillermo and Thielen, but Thielen was having a really bad time. So Guillermo was going to come in first. And they bussed his friends in. Literally, there was 2 rows coming. We did it! We finished!
Congratulations, Inigo.
Don't get our stuff wet.
No problem. That's not a problem. Hey.
How do you feel to have finished yet another edition of
wet.
the X-Pyr?
Now wet.
Now wet. And cool down.
Yeah. No, it was time to cool down a little bit. No? Yeah.
Fantastic.
I got some complaints about.
Stand up.
No, I don't think it's a good idea to show myself.
No, but the camera's there.
I got some complaints about the race because we spoke a lot in English, so I will try to speak a little bit in Spanish.
Yeah, go on.
Así que nada, que ha sido un placer tener a todo el mundo siguiendo la carrera. Estamos muy emocionados todos, hemos disfrutado, bueno, no, yo no he disfrutado nada. Dentro de la carrera se disfruta diferente, dentro de unos días empezaremos a disfrutar un poco, espero. Y bueno, pues gracias a todo el mundo por seguirla, hemos estado ahí. Ha salido muy bien, no ha habido accidentes serios, lo cual es una buena noticia. You can translate later.
No, we've said all this.
Yeah. Y nada, pues estamos muy contentos. Qué contento estoy. Qué contento estoy. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you to you, because you were the face of the X-Pyr, and it's really important for us to have people like you, volunteers. Don't forget, they are volunteers like me and other volunteers we have around us now. Todos son voluntarios en esta carrera, o casi todos son voluntarios. Aquí a mis compañeros de la izquierda a la derecha también son voluntarios y voluntaria, y bueno, hay que agradecerle muchísimo, porque sin gente como ellos esta carrera sería imposible. Así que nada, encantado de teneros por aquí. Y verdad, os dejo seguir.
Un placer.
Os dejo seguir.
Sí, ok.
I let you finish this.
Gracias,
Okay.
Inigo.
Bye.
Bye.
So lovely to hear from our race director, Inigo, the man who dreamed this all up.
Yes.
He's taking a bit of time after a very challenging week,
Yes.
as always. And obviously apologies to our Spanish viewers. I unfortunately speak enough Spanish to order a beer, and that's about it. But I will keep working on it, and hopefully one day we can do this both in English and Spanish.
Yeah.
Would be fantastic.
Sí, disculpas que no podemos hacerlo en castellano, pero él solo habla inglés, y entonces sí, pero en 2 años puede hablar castellano como un profesional.
So we were.
So yes, I was talking about Guillermo Monroset. So they bussed in his friends, and they made 2 lines with bottles of cava so that they could have like an arc of spray when he came in, and they threw him up in the air, nearly hitting the arc, and everybody was crying. I was crying, everyone was crying. There was music, there was dancing, there was laughter. It was absolutely the best welcome that I've ever seen at the X-Pyr. And the thing was, it was really late. It was already 8:30, and Thielen was coming. And so everybody stuck around because they wanted to give the same, well, not quite, they'd run out of cava, so there was going to be no cava left. But they were going to give the same welcome to Thielen. And Thielen, unfortunately, when the clock stopped, was in the car park. He needed like 200 meters extra, 2 minutes. And yeah, I mean, he was pretty inconsolable because, you know, every day he wanted to quit the race. He just found it so difficult, and yet he kept going. And then he finished. He said he's never going to do it again. But, you know, I think to keep going when it's that hard. And there's been a lot of people like that. I mean, we've had one or two, you know, you were going to say something about Tomasz Matera.
Yeah, on that point, two sides. I think something that's so fantastic about this racing is how much you find out about yourself. I had a lovely message from Francesca Mujaneski, and she, just saying how it hadn't gone her way, but she was happy, she was staying safe, and what she loved was how much she had learned about herself and really discovered out there with her team in the mountains. And yeah, you go through really dark places, you go through amazing highs, and I think it's a really great thing for people to do. You push yourself, you find out that you can do things you never thought you'd be able to do, and when you already beyond that, you find yourself waking up the next day and going again. So it's an amazing thing. But there is a time when you need to identify when it's too much. It is a dangerous sport. There's no getting around that. We manage the risks with it, but there is a time when you need to identify that. And I'd love to give out a huge shout out to Tomasz Matera. He pulled out the race on day 3.
Yeah.
Day 3, I believe it was, and really just identified that his head wasn't in the game, he wasn't feeling good, and he was starting to put himself in risks because of his headspace. If you don't race and you don't compete, it's quite hard to explain what a mental game this is, but to be able to identify that and go, you know what, I've invested so much into this, but I need to stay safe and I need to call it, and I'll come back in 2 years' time, I think is something we really need to promote in our sport. And I think a huge shout out to Thomas. He's an amazing athlete, he's a lovely guy, and I really commend him on doing that. So yeah, I'd like to say thanks, Thomas, for showing us that.
And on that note, another very, very safety conscious and very humble and honest pilot is Celia Fierman, because she stood on a takeoff, I think the day before yesterday, just massive, the highest mountains, big inversion, strong winds, and she was interviewed by our colleagues Teresa and David, who are helping us today, and she just said, big mountains, strong winds, I don't have this confidence and skills for it, and I'm not going to do it. And I really thought, you know, she was just dead honest, and there was no bravado, and she has walked so many kilometers on tarmac because she didn't give up, but she also wanted to stay safe, and I really respect that, and I think that's fantastic. And we're just getting loads of weight. I think a boat's coming.
And so, she always does it with a smile on her face.
She's amazing.
Really fantastic to see. Talking about women, shall we talk quickly about the women's, the women who entered this race and the performance they did. It's the first. We've had a lot of firsts in this edition, but tell us a few facts and what's gone on about the women's race in this edition.
Well, we just, normally last edition we had no women, and that's not because we just didn't have any applications. We couldn't select any women, and I think once we had 2, but I have to check that. When we've had one, it's been like 1. I'm trying to think if there was, and I don't. Definitely 1. I mean, we had Devon Data, we've had Kinga Marstelas. So we've already had a couple. And then we had lots of athletes applying this year, female athletes, and the caliber was just so high. We looked at them and we're just like, these are X-Pyr material, they need to come. And I think lots of people have said we should have a separate women's ranking. and kind of saying, because they can't really compete with the men, but oh boy, did they show their mettle. I mean, Elisa Deutschmann beat more than a quarter of the field.
Yeah.
We've had not only did we have the first ever woman in goal, we had the first three women ever in goal.
Yeah.
So, I think we were proved right that, we selected athletes. We didn't select women athletes.
Yeah.
So, and, to have three, Silvia Galli also coming in, and then Paulina coming in today and showing that grit and determination, even with some minor injuries and things. It was wonderful to see. Really, I mean, for me as a woman pilot, I hope that other young women watch them and think, if somebody else can do it, I can do it. And again, we're talking about that inspiration that people can pass on.
Yeah, really fantastic to see, really inspiring, and a huge shout out to the women of this race. They've showed up, they've shown us what's possible, and they've really stepped up, and I think it's fantastic to see. It's great for the sport, and I hope it inspires more women to come and join this incredible sport that we're so lucky to take part in.
Yep. So since we're giving shout outs, can we give a shout out to the guys who are still going today? Because
absolutely.
There's absolutely no shame in withdrawing, because this race really was brutal. So, at some point you sort of think, well, for whatever reason people withdrew, it doesn't matter. All respect for even attempting it. But today we had 5 pilots who were still going. So Paulina was going to be the last person to make goal, but then we still had Benjamin and Benoit, and also Florian Serra. They were together yesterday, flying in the same thermals, just not getting quite as far. But I spoke to Benoit a minute ago, and he said he and Benjamin will probably stay friends for life now, because they were together so much. So, and Celia as well, still walking. So they kept going, and they were still running after. They were still running at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
They did not slow down. And sorry, while I'm on a roll, so Benoit and Benjamin will finish together because they stayed in the same place. The other 2 pilots that decided to finish together were Davide Sassudelli and Justin Puteaux. And Justin Puteaux, when he arrived at turn point 1, I thought, that's it. He was in a terrible state. He was basically, he'd already vomited on the way up. He was ready to faint. I thought he was going to have heat stroke. I don't think he could see straight anymore. They just sat him down and covered him in ice. And he suffered with the heat and terrible cramps the whole race. And he occasionally had to just sit by the road, and he couldn't move he literally couldn't move his legs. And Davide Sassudelli got a penalty of 6 hours, so he had to wait until 1. And anyway, they joined up together, and they decided, we will do this together. And they crossed the finish line arm in arm, same position and on the ranking it'll show them as different, but really we will present them as the same place. And I just think that's so nice to see, because in a race like this, it's competitive, and you want a podium place, but at the end of the day, you're not competing against the others, you're competing
against yourself.
Against yourself and against the conditions. So lots of people provide other people with water and food and invite each other for dinner, and if your athlete's if you can't cut a cup with your supporter, somebody else will take care of you. And that's really what it's about.
We saw the great camaraderie between the Spanish pilots with Antonio Ramos and Manuel Gras. Antonio didn't have difficulties, but was flying in terrain he was struggling with, and before they took off, the 2 of them said, let's work together. We need to get to the finish line. And when they tagged turn point 6, they both wrote each other a note on the signboard. And a really moving moment, really lovely to see pilots working together, the camaraderie. And like Benoit says, you meet people in this race, putting yourself through these conditions, pushing yourself to the max, and you make friends for life. And it's really fantastic to have a race where we have seriously competitive racing on the one side, but we have the camaraderie, the friendship, the fun, the adventure that's still there. And I think that's something that's quite unique to X-Pyr and really a lovely trait that the race has. So fantastic to see it still surviving, and I think that comes down to the organization, the people interested, the athletes, the terrain, the whole package. And it's really lovely to be a part of this race and to see this still thriving and being strong. Yeah.
Now, we could mention like all of the people in the race, and we would love to, but it's getting on a bit, and we could... ¿Necesitas agua o una gorra o no? Okay, we're sitting in the bright sunshine. So, okay, let's talk about the top 10 then, or people in the top 15, because for me there was some surprises, but we really do have to talk about the winners.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was people who, when they signed up, I didn't really know much about them, and I didn't know, I couldn't really form a picture of where they would come in the ranking. And for me personally, there were some real surprises. I mean, Sylvain Wuttrich really, surprised me. Because within the rookies, I mean, the veterans like Maël Baguet coming 6th and Noé Cote coming 5th. I know I've seen and you kind of expect they would improve each race, and they have done. But yeah, so there was just people that were rookies that I just didn't really know much about, and then went, oh wow, they're here, and obviously flying very well, and we had a lot of very fit people as well.
And I mean, from a more kind of technical flying side, I think Noé Cote and Lars Meerstetter were hugely impressive. I took off with Lars on the 3rd day, and he maybe didn't fly the best line into the turn point 3. He went for the big mountains, which made sense, but it turned out to be quite a lot slower. And then he really, and if you want to see grit and determination in the air, go and have a look at Lars Meerstetter's track log, crossing over from Aneto onto the northern side. He was right up front and he got absolutely hammered, not just once. I think he did about 5 or 6 sides of a triangle, if you want to call it that, just getting flushed, trying again, getting flushed, trying to get over the mountains, whilst everyone else was more to the east and just popping over. And he dug deep and managed to get himself actually onto the podium. So I think a huge effort from Lars, really impressive. And Noé was also on end of day 2, he was miles back. He was back in 40th, along with the likes of Simon, Gabriel, a lot of these, really strong pilots. And Noé to get himself into 5th, really a very, very commendable effort.
Yep.
To get up there.
Yeah, and also, I haven't had a chance to look at the statistics, but Noé informed me that he'd done the longest flight of the competition. I was like, okay, I'll take you. So he did.
I think in total, they on that day they did have to land, which is doubly impressive because they lost an hour flying. They had to land, sign the signboard, get back up, if not more than an hour. And I think we're looking at 200 kilometers, if not 200 plus of flying kilometers in a day with a break in it, which is seriously fast going and hugely impressive.
Yep.
And then obviously the rest of our podium.
Sorry, before we get there, can I just give a shout out to the rookies in the top 10, which was Marcus Anders.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a rookie to our race. He's a real hike and fly veteran. But so he was new to the race. Arthur Mondroit, who came 4th, was a rookie. Andrea Conchi came 7th. I mean, he's been a supporter in the race before, but this time he was an athlete. Daniel Rosinski, who was the 2nd youngest athlete in the thing, who won the Wanaka. And Lucas Bonheur is new, and Charles de Beaufort. And Lucas and Charles are like rivals, friendly rivals. Yeah. And this year, Lucas has beaten them to everything, and the glee! I mean, friendly glee. But all of them rookies. So really impressive to see so many in the top 10.
Yeah, and the top 20. As we said earlier, the level of the top 30 is seriously high and super impressive. Marcus Anders, he's been a big name. Yep. He's often been right up there, competing, and then sort of lost it in the last few days. He's had a lot of tough cards played. He's had some big comebacks too, and really fantastic to see him performing so well in this race. He was breathing down Kriegel's neck he led the first day.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And then he was hot in pursuit, just or just out of reach, but in the end finished about 4 hours.
No, two and a half, I think it was. Well, I can tell you because we've got the information here. So Kriegel Maurer did it in 79 hours, and Markus Anders did it in 81 and a half hours. Nice. So yeah, it's nearly exactly two and a half hours.
So really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Huge performance from Markus Anders, and great to see him and his team. His team are lovely. I had a great chat with them, and really great to see them coming together and working so well together. So
can we give a shout out to Florian, who's his assistant?
Yeah.
Because he did the most. He sent us the most media. So they gave us the most information about their team. They always did their nighttime video for us to let us know how their day went. So big cheer for those guys.
Yeah, amazing to be out there in the front and still finding the time to. So a huge thank you to them. It obviously really helps the race. It helps you, the viewers, see what's going on, and it helps us grow. And so really a big shout out to them. And then finally, the man who has been spoken about so much.
5 times.
5 times.
5 times.
Not just this race, he's dominated the sport for so many years. We always think that this is his last and someone's going to catch him, but he always comes back and prove us wrong. And he showed us again just how dominant he is, and what a performance from Kriegel.
Unbelievable.
In this edition.
Crazy. Just totally, I mean, you know, they say that he can pull off a magic trick, but how he can just, you know, find gaps in the thunderstorms, and it's, you know, people always, but no, you know, we have the footage from him, we know how he did it, and it's just that he has such an analytical brain, and can do 10 things at the same time, and he's just Kriegel Maurer.
I had a really interesting chat with Maxime yesterday. Unfortunately, the connection wasn't too great, but if you're interested in the sport, you're interested in tactics, go back in the live tracking and really study between Kriegel and Markus. I think it's a really interesting case study. You really see the little moves that Kriegel made, the places where, you know, so often we've seen the real performance flying, but in this edition he showed us hanging in there when it was light, he showed us clever moves, he showed us all about timing, you know, getting in the air at the right time, putting the hammer down at the right time, and ultimately always being, as he always does, being in the right position at the right time. We saw a really clever move up the north side of Veneto.
That was inspired.
Which, I mean, Patrick, Harvey Collard and I looked at it and we went, what on earth is he up to? And he showed us. So really a lovely, if you're interested in hike and fly, you're interested in performance racing, have a look at these track logs, particularly between those two, because I think there's some really key learning points there that are worth studying and will teach you a lot if you are in the sport.
Okay, right. Congratulations, Kriegel Maurer, for doing it the first time. Congratulations to everybody who participated. Doesn't matter where they came and how long they took. Everybody, just amazing effort, especially in these conditions.
And then from my side, Judith, I competed in this in the last edition. I had no idea what went on in the background. I very blindly agreed to being involved in this, and boy, it's not easy.
You've turned poacher, turned gamekeeper.
It's been hugely fun, it's been hugely challenging, but what I'd really like to highlight is the people behind this race. We know your face, and not to take anything away from you or Inigo, we know, well, I hope people know how much you two put into this event and the sport. It really is quite amazing. Your passion for it, the time you commit is out of this world. I know it's a lot of stress, I know it's very difficult, but I hope that when we sit here at the end, it's all worth it. And I know I speak for every single athlete, not just in this race, but in the hike and fly community, that we are so appreciative of what you and Inigo do. And then to the people who are not on screen, we have a small team here. It really is, everyone is a volunteer. Everyone's here on their own time, and it actually blows my mind that these people are out here. Some of them are pilots or athletes, most of them aren't, and they're just here on their own goodwill supporting an amazing race. So to all the staff of X-Pyr, everyone who's involved across the board, I never knew this 2 years ago, and I hope me by saying this, it makes a lot of the other athletes aware of how hard these people work and how fantastic it is, and how grateful I am, how grateful the athletes are, and how grateful the community is to everything that goes on in this race. It really is commendable. So a huge thank you.
And a thank you to you, because it's been amazing having you as the roving reporter. It's, you know, the quality and the caliber just went up by so much.
I appreciate that, Jill. Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure to be here. I hope I've brought some insight.
Oh,
we haven't always got it right. It's not easy.
No.
We've had crazy conditions. We've had iPhones and cooler boxes. We've had umbrellas, we've had portable fans, but we're doing our best. And you know, to anyone who's watching, if you want to get involved, if you have ideas, we're so open to ideas.
Yeah,
we want to make keep this race going. We want to improve. We want to, you know, get as much content out there. So write to us, write to me, write to
if you want to have a week's worth of adventure in beautiful countryside. And if you speak French, come and join us.
So yeah, we'd love, if you're watching and you want to get involved, don't be afraid to reach out. And if you have any ideas, send them our way. And hopefully, with a little bit of convincing, I'm sure Inigo will put this on again in 2028. And hopefully we're here doing this crazy race again and bringing all the action to all our supporters.
So to wrap up, the X-Pyr 2026 is over. That's going to be all from us, except that tomorrow we've got the prize giving. It's going to be at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. If you would like to catch up with lots of athlete videos, social media stuff, live broadcasts that you can see on our YouTube channel, Ben's evening commentaries, which are really insightful with their guests, then just go to the website, and we'll see you again for our final live broadcast tomorrow at the prize giving. So, bye-bye.
Cheerio. Time for a swim.
Yeah, let's go.
Thank you.